Hello friends, a very good evening to each and every one of you. Today is a very special day and for me it has been a very leisurely day, but I'm in Bangalore this evening. But first let me show you something very beautiful that I can see from my own hotel window. A very gorgeous sunset that is happening over there. I hope you'll enjoy this. It's a front camera, it is, and I'm not very good with it, but still you can have a look at it. And there is the beautiful lake which can be seen from my hotel window. It's the Nagavara lake. And the beauty of this day today is that today is the 12th of January, and it's the birth anniversary of the person who has influenced me the most in my life, uh, Swami Vivekananda. Since 1985, the government of India decided that this day will be celebrated as the National Youth Day. We'll talk about it in a very brief while. I'll just settle down and come back to you. Yes, so I'm back. I've secured a cozy corner in the hotel room here. Friends, this day is important to me in several dimensions, in several aspects, because uh, as I was growing up in the childhood, I used to hear a lot of anecdotes, a lot of stories around Swami Vivekananda. A lot of confusion was also there. A lot of one-liners had been given to me by my fellow colleagues, some elders, but it was always an incomplete exercise. As I grew up and went into the university system, a lot of revolutionary, radical thoughts started making house, it started influencing me, and I was it is okay, the youth adolescent period is all about experimenting with new ideas, and that is how I got framed. And gradually uh, you know they say a time arrives, it is an appropriate time, sometime it comes, and an appropriate time came. And when I was in Kolkata during one of my flights around 12, 13 years ago, and I went to Belur Math, and there I was spending some time over there. So what I did was that I took a taxi from my hotel, which was the Oberoi Hotel, Grand Oberoi in Kolkata, went to Belur Math, and spent the entire day over there, going through a lot of literature in the library and in the bookstore, and went and sat at the point where Swami Vivekananda used to sit on the bank of the river and meditate. And thereafter, during the twilight time, I took a shared boat from Belur Math, and as the sun was setting down, as I showed you, I travelled across the river to Dakshineshwar Kali temple, and thereafter this is how I got introduced to self-introduced myself to Swami Vivekananda and his literature. Friends, this entire fascinating thing, though I couldn't show the sunset in the way in which I was experiencing it, and I can't share the way in which the lake stands out magnificently from my hotel window. Nature, we have some instincts. We all are animals by nature. We have instincts, and when we are in the midst of the nature, it works its magic on us, and it is doing the magic on me, and especially on this beautiful, pious, auspicious day. It was an easy day, work wise it was an easy day for me. I just flew from Guwahati to Bangalore, just one sector, and during the flight I introduced this National Youth Day, birth anniversary of the most influential superhero, heroic icon whom I revere, I look up to. In a very short span of time he spent on this earth, but leaving immense literature, immense ideas, thoughts, millions of followers. So he still lives. He still lives through several of you, and of course, definitely a portion of him exists in me as well. So these people never perish. They are ideas, they are qualities. They are not just limited to being nouns. He himself said that we are infinite, and we have to realize that we have infinite potential. Today in the flight, I just I do chit chatting with my passengers. So I told them that whatever we sow today, we will reap tomorrow. So if I have my child with me in my car sitting today, and if I violate a traffic signal consciously or unconsciously, it is a traffic signal, it's a red light, and if I have to stop, I have to stop. There's no question over it, there's no second thought over it. And if I violate it with my child sitting next to me and she observes me doing that thing, I have ruined an entire generation. It is my responsibility to live in an appropriate way today, not only just for myself, but also to be a blueprint for the future generations to follow, to be an example, to set an example for the future generations to follow. On this context, I will not kill more of your time. On this context, I have been thinking of talking about the domestic life that we live. I'm almost 40 right now, and in absolute thick of the domestic grihast dharma phase of my life. So these we have the our Puranic scheme of thought, Vedic scheme of thought has divided life into 4 stages: brahmacharya, grihast, vanaprastha and sannyas. So as of now, I am in the grihastha phase of life. So are several of our friends also. So this grihastha phase, and me talking on grihastha phase, I am not a guru, I am not very knowledgeable. It is just that I keep reading a lot of literature. And yes, I have to give due acknowledgement also to everything. Each and every one of us is like a river. Our lives are like rivers, our thoughts are like rivers, in which several small yet significant streams have poured their knowledge into us, their ideas into us, and that is how we grow and evolve, and that is how we move ahead. So whatever I will be speaking, of course I have chosen to speak that is the only authorship that I would claim. Otherwise, ideas, there are numerous sources of ideas that have influenced me. I read a lot, a variety of reading I do, and especially massive influences from my Vedantic literature, and of course in today's context, Swami Vivekananda. So he had a lot of hope on the youth. 40, I am still young, so I think I have to be one of his torch bearers for bringing about some change in the future for tomorrow. So definitely I have been influenced by a lot of literature from the Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada Devi, Vivekananda school of thought, and Ramana Maharshi has his influence. Then Lahiri Mahashay, that particular family, entire family of gurus have influenced me. I have read a lot of literature from belonging to there. I still, I am not speaking on their behalf. I may be very incomplete, very incoherent, and absolutely nonsensical as well. But yes, grihast is a very important phase of life. And why it is called dharma is that when, according to the Sanatan scheme of thought, according to this universal scheme of thought which was and has been practiced in our country, every stage, every phase of life was to be lived as a dharma. Dharma is not religion, dharma as in duty. We had to fulfill certain duties, certain expectations for any particular phase of life, and this Grihastha phase is very, very crucial, because if you look at the other phases of life, other stages of life, uh, brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is that stage of life, the student phase of life in modern understanding, what we can say. So a student is not expected to be earning. It's a student depends on someone else to uh, feed her, tend for her, care for her, and enable her or his education, and a proper growth and development, both emotional and physical. The other phase of life which is ahead of the grihastha is the vanaprastha and sannyas. Of course, they are also, we can say that they have retired from the mainstream of the life. So it is the grihasth's responsibility to tend for all the other three phases of life, and that is where the significance and crucial importance of this phase of life comes into play. What I have been doing and trying to do, I don't claim that my household or my grihastha is the ideal type, but I don't even aspire to have it as an ideal type. It is an ongoing process. We are, all of us at my place are learning and evolving every day. With every breath that we take, we learn. So, but what I feel is that in general, life in itself is a rin. Rin is a Sanskrit Hindi word which can be roughly, but not in exact terms, be translated as debt. Debt can be dissolved, but rin cannot be dissolved. Rin is related and is connected to your karmic mathematical account, your dharma, so you have to fulfill that a particular rin, which like what I feel, I'll give you an example. I feel that me as an householder, me as a husband, me as a father of two daughters, me as a person on whom my domestic help depends, on whom my driver depends, I have a responsibility towards them. So this responsibility, this dutiful responsibility that I feel, I call it as a rin. I understand it as a rin, and my life should be structured in such a way, it should be practiced, it should be dealt with. I have to modify, I have to action it in such a way that every action is intended towards repayment of this debt, towards repayment of this rin. So I take household very seriously, I take domestic sphere very seriously. It doesn't mean that I am not a funny man. I am very funny at home. My children enjoy it, they are not afraid of me. In fact, on the contrary, they terrorize me several times in several ways, and we fight, we quarrel, sometimes we make fool of each other, make fun. So we have a very funny household as well, but at the same time a very responsible household. And I don't expect this mode of living from anyone within my family. It is just the way it is. I have chosen that I will live this in this particular way. I will live a life to fulfill this particular rin towards my family. And stepping out from family, I consider that this family of which I am a part, and and I'm privileged to be referred to as the head of the family. This family has been given to me. My children, they are born out of my wife, we together gave birth to these children, but they don't belong to us. They have happened to us. Children are a very important, crucial part of this grihastha dharma, grihastha phase of life, that saying that, having said that, there is no prejudice, there is no bias, there is nothing as such for the households who who don't have a child in the household. It does not mean that you essentially have to have a child. If you have a child, then that is how I think. Otherwise, there are different ways to fulfill this domestic grihastha responsibilities. Is to understand that our house, our family is not just something which belongs to us. We belong to this household, and this household belongs to the larger society, larger world, the entire humanity. And this house has to create an environment, this home has to facilitate an ecology, to carve out an ecology in such a way that the smallest, the weakest, the tenderest of the element under this shelter feels empowered enough to bloom in the way of its mool prakriti, in its natural element, whatever the natural element of that particular person may be. And it is the responsibility of the grihastha householder to ensure that everyone flourishes in the way their karma has brought them to this particular stage, to particular phase. So we have to be a facilitator within our own household to help these little flowers bloom the way they want to bloom. We have to protect them, we have to nurture them, we have to nourish them, we have to guide them, but we don't have to just start expecting certain things which are beyond that individual's mool prakriti, basic instinct. So we have to actually be a facilitator to so that these little souls flourish in accordance with their mool prakriti, and that is how we will be a part of their biography, and that is all. There are small little anecdote stories. So there was this one very famous story of a grihasth lady. The story, I think it belongs to one chapter of Mahabharata, a sub chapter of one chapter of Mahabharata, and that is called the Vyad Gita, in which there's this very sannyasi, very blessed sannyasi, and he has immense powers, through his penance, through his practice, through his meditation, he has gained power, and he discovers that under a tree some birds were fighting, and a leaf falls from the tree and disturbs him during the meditation, and he looks at the birds, and the birds burn, they die. And then he realizes that he has immense power, and he has accumulated immense power and potential because of his practice and meditation, and that sets in him certain level of arrogance, attitudinal arrogance. With this, he goes out and ventures into the village, asking for alms for his food. He reaches a particular house where there's this lady whose husband was not well. She was attending to her husband at her residence, and he knocks at the door. The lady takes time to come out at the door, and then this sannyasi, this profound person, is infuriated because of the delay that he had to take, because the lady was attending to her husband and she took time to come out to the door. And sannyasi got angry, and he said that, how dare you made me wait at your doorstep. And she, maintaining her composure, her quietness, her calmness, she comes back and says that with all due respect, I apologize for that, but I was attending to my husband, and that is my primary responsibility and primary duty, because he is not well, and this is my household, and the duty that I have is to take care of this particular household. She was, and then he said that your husband is more important than this sannyasi, and she said that I'm not saying that, but yes, to me my duty towards my husband is more important than my duty towards you, my sir. So he says that you don't know about my powers that I have, and she returns the, she counters him by answering that don't think that I am the bird that you burnt. And this takes him aback, because she was unaware about the power, this particular power which the rishi, this sannyasi had suddenly gained a while ago. And he asked, how do you know? And she said that, sir, right from my childhood I have done all my duties which I think they are my duties in a very proper manner, fulfilled all the responsibilities in a proper manner, and this is because of that I have a power that I can read your mind, and I know you have that particular strength. And she recommends him to go to this particular profound butcher, Vyads are basically hunters, who earn living by hunting in the forest, and so. But this particular Vyad to which she guides this sannyasi is considered to be extremely educated, extremely spirited, and a profound soul, siddha soul basically. So he goes, he looks for, he goes out looking for him and finds him to be at the sitting at his in his butchery, and there he gets into discussion with the butcher, and he says that no work, butcher explains to this muni, that sannyasi, that no work is less significant or more significant. Every work is equally important, equally valuable. And how I do my work, it is my responsibility, is the work that has been assigned to me. I belong to a particular community, and because of belonging to a particular community, I do this particular work, but this does not stop me from reading spiritual literature or interacting with profound souls. And that is my personal life, that is what I have chosen as my personal self life. But this is a duty, and I can perform my duty with complete detachment. I don't associate myself with this particular duty, and I know that my life is beyond this particular duty also. So in a sense, why I brought this particular story here in the context of Grihast, when I am talking about Grihast, is if we look at the strength that the lady, the householder, it is not about, let us not confuse it with being gendered in a particular way, that the wife was attending to the husband, and you start questioning me if she's not well, the husband would attend or not. That it is, we are not getting into that particular debate right now. I attend to my wife whenever she is unwell. She attends. She is always perpetually careful. She cares for me. She cares for my children. So it is the personal human dynamic that we have to keep up in the domestic sphere. The strength of that lady lied in the fact that she was a responsible householder. She was doing her job with happiness, fulfilling her responsibility with happiness, yet she was completely, it was a dedication, it was like a puja that she was performing, it was like a meditation that she was doing her job. So this is how we are. I think that we have children, and we don't have children just because we can claim that do take care of me when we are old, and do something like that. On the contrary, I think that they were those independent souls, and we as parents were in debt with those souls, and they have been born into our family, they have chosen to be born into my family out of us, because we owe them something, and it is our responsibility to repay this debt in a responsible manner. What we can do to repay this particular rin or debt is to raise them as per their mool prakriti, as per their basic instinct. We have to identify that what is my child, what is their inclination, which direction is the natural. See, a river is formed from the melting glaciers from high mountains. What happens when we forcefully at wrong places put in banks and embankments and dams in the natural flow of the river? We have seen this in our own country, Villages get destroyed in the due course of time. Life is lost. Let the river flow. Let the life flow in its own, in accordance to its own mool prakriti. As parents, as householders, our responsibility is only limited to assisting that particular soul to live its life in the fullest possible way, and we have to guide them, we have to guide them, we have to assist them, we have to tell them certain things which may be right, which may be wrong. We have to nurture love in them, we have to nurture compassion in them, we have to I am a Bihari, I was reading about Bihar and how this name Bihar came into being. Earlier there were so many Bodh Viharas in that particular region. Viharas were like small colleges, small congresses of intellectuals who used to sit together and discussed on several issues. I want our households, I look at our households in such a way that our households are little viharas, and if we are successful in transforming this brick and mortar into little viharas, then we are a successful householder. Look at this, I said I follow, I have a lot of influence of Sri Ram Krishna Paramhans and Ma Sharda Devi. Both of them were householders. If you look at avatars, Ram was a householder, Shri Krishna was a householder. So if we look at why gods have guided us, they have lived a particular life, they have like Mahatma Gandhi says that my life is my message. So it is their lives that they have lived. Of course, we pray. I also offer my prayers to Lord Ram and Shri Krishna, but more than just physically and mechanically offering prayer, going to a temple and offering flowers and paying a Panditji for offering a puja on my behalf. No, I learn from the life that they have lived, how they have lived, how they have managed their relationships, how was their social conduct, how did they used to interact with their gurus, how with the children, with their friends and folks, how Krishna treated Sudama, how did Krishna treated Sudama, or how Prabhu Sri Ram negotiated, how that Mallah negotiated with Prabhu Sri Ram and Sita Mata. So I learn from these small episodes from their life that how should I live my life as a householder. So my household is a space which I think has been given to me because of my karmic debt that I owe to this ecosystem, to this ecology, so that I can raise my children as a responsible global citizen and return it back to the society. This is what I feel, and it's a little industry. Our homes are little industries. We and if we look at it, why this is all this has been spoken in the context of Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary, which is today, is that Swami Vivekananda always wanted, he had some expectation from the youth of the country, and that expectation was to rise up, to realize your potential, to realize that you are infinite, to realize that nothing in this world is unattainable, but at the same time we have to be responsible, we have to have compassion, we have to love. And you see, Swami Vivekananda, even Adi Guru Shankaracharya, definitely they were profound souls, there is no second thought over it. They were enlightened beings, they were supreme souls, but they have travelled across this beautiful subcontinent called India. And believe me or not, I have a firm faith and believe in this fact that yes, they were profound souls, but their travel across this particular country, travel with open mind, travel to talk to people, travel to interact and see how different people live, how they think, how they eat, how they dress up, how they worship. It is all these stories that has made these people into what they became, gradually. So this travel also becomes a very important part, and I am a perpetual traveler, and I also try to travel with an open mind, an open heart, without any prejudice, without any pride associated with it, and an unconditional compassion and love towards one and all. So that is how the message of Advaita Vedanta is also there. It always says that we are Brahma. We means not just me. Brahma resides in everything. Hum mein, tum mein, khadag khamb mein, sab mein vyapak Ram. So this is the message that I want to convey today on this very special and auspicious occasion of the birth anniversary of the great Swami Vivekananda. Let us try to nurture him within ourselves. Read him. Don't rely on WhatsApp messages. A lot of trash is being circulated. A lot of wrong information is being circulated. There are some malified intentions that are prevailing in this society, have prevailed always, but it is upon us to filter that information to get into our system. After all, whatever goes into the system will try to impact our system. So try and control the influences that get into us. Take care of yourselves, and do remember 12th January is the National Youth Day, and being the youth of the country, we have a lot of responsibility towards the country. And what I told today to my passengers of my flight, that if my daughter is sitting next to me and if I jump a traffic red signal, I have potentially ruined a full generation. So don't do anything. Our lives are not just our lives. A whole generation depends upon how we are leading our lives. Lives in public spaces and lives as a householder. I will talk about this thing. Next episode, I have, I'll be talking about brahmacharya and certain qualities and attributes that are expected of a student. Thank you once again. God bless us all. Enjoy the lovely evening. And yes, remember, being a householder is not just being serious, it's being funny, it is to enjoy that space, it is to, the only thing is that love should be the defining principle within this small space called our homes, our houses. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.